Live starting.
Pranams. So we are about to start a awareness program on stress-free life, need of the hour. So the speaker for the program is Swami Muktidanandaji, Adhyaksha, Sri Ramakrishna Ashram, Yadavgiri, Mysuru. Swamiji is a well-known personality for his tremendous work in the spiritualism, in the yoga factor, and in stress management topics. Now, Swamiji has served Sri Ramakrishna Vidyashala as correspondent for 16 years, and he has assumed various positions in Sri Ramakrishna Mission and is presently a trustee of the mission as well. Now, I request our principal, Dr. B. Sadashiva Gowda, to welcome Swamiji.
It's an honor to me to extend a very hearty welcome to our beloved Swamiji. Whenever we request Swamiji to address our students, they readily give their consent to address. We are really grateful to you, Swamiji, because in the beginning you were mentioning that the need of the hour is to lead a stress-free life. And you were also mentioning that in the informal conversation that the life has become so hectic, particularly in the current pandemic situation. The life has become really hectic, and people are losing jobs. Students are under tremendous stress due to examination and many other issues. I think it is the right time that we seek the blessings of Swamiji's to lead a very peaceful and stress-free life. I request Swamiji to address all of us in the keeping in mind the current pandemic situation and how we can overcome and what are the solutions to the present day hectic life. I request Swamiji to deliver his talk. Over to Swamiji.
Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavanto, Sri Ramakrishna Sharanam. Thank you, Dr. Sadashiva Gowdaji, the principal of the Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering, for organizing such very, very significant program to the student community, faculty members, and one and all, to find out how we can really lead a stress-free life. And that is actually the need of the present day situation. I am also thankful to Dr. G.V. Naveen ji, the HOD, and other members of the faculty who are coordinating this program, Professor Ganesh ji, Professor Vinod ji, Professor Arun Kumar ji, and Professor Balu Vijay ji. Thank you for inviting me to this program of spreading awareness about leading a stress-free life, and that is to give a holistic education incorporating beyond the curriculum all the essential knowledge and skills and attitude for leading a effective, joyful life. Education should be a total concept. It is not only meant for a particular 3-hour rote memory education of a particular subject, but we should prepare ourselves for the all challenges of life. And education should equip us how we have to deal with ourselves, our body, mind. How are we to deal with the society? How are we to do our duties in life? How we should be oriented towards the society? and also the entire world, and the God-given faculties, the intellect, our emotion, our willpower, and also the memory is to be geared up, refined to its peak performance so that we do right things at right time for right effect. And that is actually the secret of success, not only in one department of life, in all the department of life. And this should be founded on certain spiritual principles, basis. The spiritual approach is an inevitable existential approach to solve, not only to solve the problems of life, but make life meaningful and blissful, because we need to deal with the source of our existence, that which is behind our I and me, and then the world around us. So this is what is called the spiritual approach. Now, coming to the topic, how are we to lead a stress-free life, which is the need of the present day, in the context when we have this pandemic and lockdown and the domestic life, the institutional life, the business life, and the social life is very much restricted. A lot of stress and strain of managing with this condition of lockdown and this kind of a pandemic, and we are vulnerable for this kind of a serious disease called corona, which is due to an invisible virus which has shaken the whole world today. Half the world is immobilized because of this corona since last 2 or 3 months. And education, either primary education, the school education, and the technical education is affected very badly. And we are on an online program everywhere. All this builds up a kind of a stress in our life. Even otherwise, life has become so fast, full of speed, chasing things one after another. And the lifestyle has undergone so much change that it has become very stressful for most of us and all of us. Now, how to deal with this stress? How to make our life stress-free? Before going to the subject proper, let us understand what is stress. Let us understand the subtler and biochemical, the physical, and the psychological aspects of the stress. Stress is a state of psychosomatic disorder caused due to emotional disturbance and consequent malfunctioning of glands, biochemistry, which impairs the brain and nervous system, giving rise to increased erratic cardiac and mental pressure. So, stress, according to medical parlance, is defined as a perturbation or disturbance of body's balance, which is called as homeostasis, a natural metabolic order in the body gets disturbed, and that state is called stress. This demand on mind and body occurs when it tries to cope with the incessant change in the life and body metabolism. The change in body metabolism due to the emotional disturbance results in kind of a stress, and that will lead to number of psychosomatic disorders like acidity and blood pressure and many such diseases. Sometimes stress also leads to a kind of a psychological problem called depression. So we have to be careful to see that how we can equip ourselves to see that we don't come under the stress. Now, the important causes of stress we will try to study. What are the usual causes in day-to-day life which creates stress in our mind and body? Number one, stress is due to increased workload with which we are not able to cope up. This is the one cause. Second is stress is due to not doing work and avoiding responsibility. Sometimes it is not only doing work, sometimes doing work gives fulfillment, though we are little overloaded. It may give a kind of a stress, but we should not get overstressed, that's all. But certain minimum stress to do our duty is very essential. But the stress beyond certain threshold result creates some problem. So the second cause is not doing work because of laziness, because of lack of application of the mind to work. This also results in kind of a negative stress. Then third is stress due to strained human relationship. This is mostly the cause of most of the people suffering from stress is mainly because of the strained human relationship. The art of having a balanced, right human relationship has to be taught as an integral part of education, and that is missing. So people make mess of their life because of the strained human relationship. Relationship between father and the son, the relationship between the siblings, relationship between the competing siblings, relationship between the partners in life, relationship between the boss and the assistant. Like that, there are a number of situations in life creates problems on account of strained relationship, which consequently results a perpetual stress. Then stress is also due to metabolic disturbance and disease. Then stress is due to wrong expectation and greed. This is the one thing. We have a number of limitless desires. The list of wanting things is endless in the consumeristic society. So a lot of wrong expectation and greed and the want creates unnecessary stuff. So contentment, satisfaction. We must know in chasing desires, we should understand that we should go thus far and no further. So that kind of a discrimination, the viveka in the mind to deal with the desires has to be cultivated, and mind has to be trained to regulate our desires. Stress is also due to vices. Many of the vices cause unnecessary stress in our life, and we make a mess of our life. Alcohol, drug, and varieties of these addictions lead to unnecessary stress, which can be easily avoided by not getting into these vices right from the beginning, right from the student life. Then stress is due to guilt. We commit some mistakes. We do not have that kind of a reasoning faculty to analyze and come out of the guilt. So stress due to guilt is another factor which is simmering in the subconscious of quite a good number of wrongdoers. And that is the cause of unconscious stress. Stress is also due to facing the disagreeable. See, life is such that we do not get everything in life as we want. There are number of situations, persons and things which is not according to our taste, which is disagreeable to us. Yet we have to accept them, deal with them in a balanced manner. So stress due to facing the disagreeables is an important thing. We need to reflect over them and accept them and learn to deal with them. Some of the methods of stress management, now let us try to go through. One is effective mind management is a very important thing. We must know mind is a chief instrument which we are using every moment to moment when we negotiate life. If the mind is not properly trained, if the mental faculties are not properly understood, we will be making mistakes everywhere. Our intellectual capacity, which is a very important part of the mind, our volitional will to do, willpower is another aspect of the functional aspect of the mind. Then the memory, then the emotion. Emotion is like a magnetic field. We usually make a lot of mistakes in our emotional management. We are not properly trained how to manage our emotion. Emotion is the power of the mind. It is the magazine of the mind. Emotional upheavals, emotional flow, emotional turbulence have to be really understood, and the mind has to be controlled by controlling emotion. Controlling emotion. So, the education which gives us an emotional training, how to use our emotion, how to refine our emotion, how to really give higher expression to our emotions. Giving emotion a higher direction by trying to tune it to the learning of music, in spiritual practice, in having right hobbies and right human relationship. Emotions get refined and fine-tuned and comes under control. We must give our emotion to good habits, cultivating virtues, in cultivating higher values in life, in cultivating devotion to God, in our prayer, in our meditation, then emotion gets slowly refined, and the emotional power also takes a positive turn. And that positive, constructive emotion can be applied to all the situations of life and the management of life, and we'll be able to deal with life with positive passion and emotional backing that really gives extra power to deal with life successfully. Then we should know how to plan our routine and plan the time management. Time management is very important. So self management, time management, mind management, and finally the spiritual management beyond the body, mind, and ego and the I. We have a spiritual consciousness, which is the subtle, deeper aspect and the basis of our existence. We should be inquisitive about it right from the early boyhood days as a part of education. We must have a question that who are we? What is God? An effort to understand the, the true existence of God and the truth behind our ego personality. This should be a part of education, and that is called spiritual education. This spiritual education will give us a lot of power, lot of self-control, lot of intellectual luminosity. It will put our thought waves on a higher wavelength. So India is known for its spirituality. The whole world looks towards India as the masters in spirituality, yoga, and meditation, which is nothing but an effort to discover ourselves behind the body and the mind, beyond the birth and the death. Who are we? This search for the truth, this seeking the truth about ourselves should parallelly go along with our family life and the professional life and the student life. That gives an additional spiritual impetus to the personality and strength of mind to deal with all situation, and that makes your life absolutely stress free. And certain the tips for the conquering stress: right attitude, positive outlook, understanding that patience is power, learning to accept the disagreeables of life, and we should also have a broad-based cosmic perspective. I and my place in this vast universe. How evanescent is this bodily existence? We start our life from childhood, boyhood, youth, middle age, old age, and then death. There is a terminal point of life called death. Such an overview of life will make life very easy. And as our understanding of life becomes realistic and understanding life is all comprehensive, then we become free from all this kind of a unnecessary stress in life and wayward trends of the mind. So we need to have, therefore, faith in God and faith in oneself. That is absolutely necessary. Faith in God, God as the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the world, God as the innermost spiritual self of our personality, God who is omniscient, omnipresent. So, this aspect of the knowledge of the presence of the divine, which is called spirituality, is very important, and that leads to a life of prayer and meditation along with day-to-day routine of the life, and that diffuses all pressure, all stress, all anxiety, all kinds of neurosis can be tackled with the power of prayer and meditation. Now, what are some of the symptoms of the stress? Because of the time limit, I will just rush through some of the symptoms, which will give us an understanding whether we are passing through such stressful condition of the mind. Number one, inability to listen to others, an impatient attitude towards others. Second, more reaction and less action. We react to the world thoughtlessly after reading newspaper, trying to judge others, but we fail to act and fail to do our natural duties as an individual, as a family person, as a professional, as a social being. We fail to do our part of the duty properly, but we squander our energy recklessly in reacting to the world and judging the world. So this is one of the symptoms of stress. Open display of impatience, anger, unnecessary, illogical, excessive concern, hurried and fast speech, discordantly attempting too many things at a time, inability to have deep sleep, and the sleep becomes superficial and irregular, and small stint of sleep, after that we wake up. So the mind is not able to get the required rest, and that is the important symptom of stress. Stressful people, people who are subject to unnecessary emotional twist and stress and anxiety, do not get sleep. They suffer from sleep disorder. This is an important symptom of stress. Remaining preoccupied by one's own thoughts and worries while talking to others. Absent-mindedness is also one of the symptoms of the stress. Then rashly and illogically dominating the conversation, what is called megalomania, is another important symptom of the stress. Repeated discordant movement of hands, fingers, and legs, grinding teeth, clenching fist, and rocking legs are also said to be the external manifestations of stressful mind. Rapid way of eating, overeating, or eating less due to lack of hunger. These are some other physical symptoms of the stress. Dominance of unconscious complexes and inabilities to remain in conscious and calm state of mind, which is called restlessness. Our unconscious always dominates, and uncontrolled murmur of the mind dominates, and this kind of unconscious gyrations of the mind will make us absent-minded, and we don't live in the present. So it is important to learn to observe our mind, witness of our mind. What is happening in our mind? For a moment, we should relax and sit on an easy chair and see how the mind functions. What happens within me now? Why these thoughts are coming? Where are they coming from? Who prompts them to have this kind of a thought? All that is to be questioned. Very observation of the mind, witnessing of the mind, and witnessing of the breathing and yogasana and the exercise and prayer calms down the mind. Observation of breathing, normal breathing, relaxation, yogasana, meditation, prayer. These are the things which immediately calm down the mind. All these things requires little more explanation, but we are rushing through the topic, so I'm giving all these things in quick succession. Acidity and different types of headaches are the symptoms of stress many times, not every time. Mind slipping into the habit of making irrational complaints about others always, and suffers from the inability to accept one's shortcoming and draw corrective measures. This is one of the very important symptom of stress. We always find fault with others, but unable to find fault with ourselves. Because we are unable to find fault with ourselves, we are not able to correct ourselves. When we are not able to correct ourselves, we keep on doing wrong things perpetually as a habit, and that is the very important symptom of stress. There are certain important spiritual approach, the psychological approach, which will give us some idea as to how we can really manage stress. And this approach we call as the spiritual approach. We should know in our life, inner conquers the outer. The innermost being, that is a law. Inner conquers the outer. Not the outer is able to conquer the inner. The inner thoughts, inner mind by which we can conquer the outer world. Higher conquers the lower. The higher mind, the higher aspiration, the higher knowledge, the higher things alone can conquer the lower. Then subtle, that which is invisible, that which is sukshma, the subtle conquers the gross. The power of conquest is not in gross, not in lower, not in outer. The power of conquest lies in inner, higher, and subtler. Another important point is, it is the present moment which is the tool of life. Life is actually one moment. The moment that is past is the memory. Past always comes to us in the form of a memory, get reduced to memory. And future is notional, which has not yet come. We live one present moment, which is a very important, precious, the tool of life, the present one moment. So we should live in the present. It is present, by present only we can conquer the past and the future. Then finally, it is the spirit which conquers the matter. The spirit, the consciousness, the God concept, the creator concept, the omniscient being, the all-intelligent being which governs this universe is called God or spirit or spiritual consciousness. It is spirit that helps us to conquer the world and the matter. Not that matter conquers the spirit, It's the spirit which conquers the matter. And thus we must be aware that we should have an overview of life, an understanding of our mind. We should know the value of the present one moment. We must know different planes and parts of our personality, especially our mind. Just as we plan our interior of the home so beautifully, having a nice drawing room, lot of ventilation, light, furniture inside our home. Similarly, mind should be like a beautiful home. It should not be like a disorderly slum. We should regulate our emotion, make our conscious mind, subconscious mind beautifully decor them with right emotion, right thought, right samskaras, right memories, right knowledge, right friendship, right attitude. This is how we can make our mind beautiful, make our mind healthy, make our mind live in harmony with the world outside, and use the mind, the powers of the mind, in the discovery of the truth of our personality, which is death bound, which is called spirituality. So mind is a great instrument of given to us by nature. So proper mind management is the key to conquer the stress and prevent the stress. Now, certain easy tips I would like to place before you for the stress management. I will go through it quickly and then conclude. Perhaps the time is up, and we will go through the certain tips to overcome or prevent stress. Number one, try to be cheerful. Cultivate the art of keeping mind in a happy state. It should be our habit. In Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says Santosha is something to be practiced. You should not always put on a morose, morbid face. You should be cheerful, glittering with smile, calmness, and peace. That positive state will definitely help you to prevent stress. Then practice of rhythmic breathing as frequently as possible. Breathing and mind has a control, has a relationship. By controlling the breathing, we can control the mind. So practice simple rhythmic breathing as frequently as possible, or observe breathing. Swami Vivekananda says, by controlling breathing and observing breathing, we can control the mind. Then try to be fully aware of what you do every moment. ವರ್ತಮಾನದ ಈ ಕ್ಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಪೂರ್ಣ ಅರಿವಿನಿಂದ ಇರುವಂತಹದ್ದು. Living in the present with full awareness is a virtue, is a mental discipline which can prevent stress. Observation of thoughts, ಯಾವ ಥರದ ಆಲೋಚನಾ ತರಂಗಗಳು ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಉದ್ಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇವೆ ಎಂಬುದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಗೊಮ್ಮೆ ಈಗೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಇಣುಕಿ ನೋಡಬೇಕು. ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು, ಚಿತ್ತವೃತ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು, ತರಂಗಗಳನ್ನು ಗಮನಿಸುವುದೇ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಧ್ಯಾನಾವಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಗಮನಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಆಲೋಚನಾ ಸರಣಿಗಳನ್ನು ಸಾಕ್ಷಿಯಾಗಿ ಗಮನಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು is very important. Another important thing which we need to cultivate is getting up early in the morning. Early riser can move mountain. Get up early in the morning, after ablution, have a quick bath and go around and see the nature around, how the sunrise takes place, how the birds, chirping birds go around, and then do some yogasana exercise and sit in meditation for some time. And that, if you start the day like this, I'm sure your life will be stress-free. So early bath and washing head and face and legs with cold water 4 to 5 times a day refreshes the mind. Right speech, balanced speech will definitely pave way to peaceful and harmonious human relationship. Nutritious diet and balanced diet is also relieves us from the stress. ಊಟ ಬಲ್ಲವನಿಗೆ ರೋಗವಿಲ್ಲ, ಮಾತು ಬಲ್ಲವನಿಗೆ ಜಗಳವಿಲ್ಲ. This is the famous Kannada dictum that one who knows how to eat will not have disease, and one who knows how to talk with others in a balanced way will not have any quarrel with anybody. Then having some regular good habits like hobby, healthy recreations, service activities for leisure time engagements, these are the things which will reduce stress. Practice of virtue like empathy, putting ourselves in others' place and thinking, compassion, love for all, forgiveness is an important virtue which removes stress directly, and equanimity of the mind. Finally, understanding ourselves and the world and the people as it is and accepting them is an important virtue we need to cultivate. Learn to not to thoughtlessly and rashly react. That is another important virtue. Let the body be among people doing work in your home and workplace and society, but try to keep a small portion of your mind in remembrance of God, in prayer, in spiritual aspiration. Let in the corner of the mind there is a lamp glowing of spiritual aspiration, little devotion to God, little prayer. Sri Krishna says, Alpamapya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. A little of spirituality will greatly help us and take us across from the misery of the world. Another important thing is we must learn to live in tune with nature. Observing nature, observing the vast sky, the stars, the birds, the plants, the insects, the nature around us, and we have a very deep natural relationship. Our mind is part of Prakriti. So if you observe Prakriti, the nature around us, the mind calms down. Mind becomes pure, still. So children should find time, students should find time to sit alone for sometimes 5, 10, 15 minutes a day and watch the sky and watch the nature around and enjoy the beauty of the nature. Time management and health care are the other two things which is very important thing for avoiding stress due to disease. So we conclude finally that we should have a holistic approach to life to manage stress by having proper 5 important type of management or dealing with 5 important aspects of life in a very systematic way. One is proper self-management, proper family management, very intelligent and sincere professional management, and social management, and finally the spiritual management. If all these 5 aspects of life are integrated, and if we make life holistic, we become a center of power. Our mind gets filled with joy and bliss, and also our ability to do work and intellectual luminosity also gets enhanced. So I conclude requesting each one of you to think in terms of how we manage ourselves, self-management, family management, professional management, social management, and spiritual management should be integral part of our education, integral part of our lifestyle, and integral part of our day-to-day thinking. So I wish all the viewers a stress-free life, a joyful life. In your art of living, please consciously cultivate these many ideas, these many thoughts that we have discussed today in your own way, and make your life stress-free. I once again thank the management of the Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering for giving me this opportunity to share few thoughts on stress-free life. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Swamiji. So, it's time to render vote of thanks. I, Bala Vijay, from Department of Mechanical Engineering, Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering, Mysuru. On behalf of the department, first and foremostly, I would like to thank Swami Muktidanandaji Maharaj, Adhyaksha, Sri Ramakrishna Ashrama, Mysuru. Thank you, Swamiji. It was much needed medicine for in this pandemic situation. Thank you so much, Swamiji. I would like to thank the management of Vidyavardhaka Sangha for their continuous support in organizing such programs. I also thank our beloved principal, Dr. B. Sadashivegowda, and our head of the department, Dr. G. V. Naveen Prakash, for their continuous encouragement for us. I also thank the coordinators, Professor Ganesha B.B., Professor Arun Kumar K.N., Professor Vinod B. And finally, I thank all the viewers for joining this program. Hope that this session benefits you in some way or the other. Thank you, one and all.
Sir, please kindly unmute, sir. Principal, sir.
Yeah, we can close. We can close.